The return of this Unrivaled player could send her team back to the championship.
You are Locked On Women's Basketball, your daily podcast on women's basketball. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Women's Basketball, your #1 sports podcast network, free on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. I'm here with Golden State Valkyries radio analyst Sophia Jones. I'm Kalia Butler, the sideline reporter for the Chicago Sky, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. All righty, let's go into our topics for today. The Wooden Award Top 20 list has been revealed. There's some fun games within the Big Ten Conference today. But first, she is back, and she is Angel Reese. Angel Reese will return to Unrivaled and Rose, BC with her debut on February 20th against the Hive. There was a vacant roster spot for the Rose, and of course it was on the Rose. No better team to go back to than the one that you were just on. Aari McDonald was ruled out for the season because of a right leg injury, which led to that 3-team trade, which we had discussed a little while ago, where Breeze received Courtney Williams from Vinyl. Vinyl received Saniya Rivers from Hive, and the Hive received Azura Stevens from the Rose, which left us with the question mark of who do the Rose receive. And a couple of days later, nonetheless, it's revealed that Angel Reese is coming back to Unrivaled.
Yeah, we were speculating just a little bit on how that void would be filled, because when we were looking at it, you lose Azura Stevens, but they brought Haley Jones from the developmental pool. She's more of a smaller forward, though, doesn't present the same type of game like Azura Stevens. So it makes sense that now you bring in Angel, get that size back. I think that the Rose, they were on a little bit of a slide as well during the middle of the season. Beginning, they looked like they were back to their championship form and they were going to repeat. Middle, we saw that losing streak where they dropped a couple matchups. And so I think that triggered getting Angel Reese back on this roster. And it's coming at a good time, too, because leading into the one-on-one tournament, she'll actually have a lot of time to go ahead and practice with the team.
The Rose could definitely use some extra rebounds right now, and you said it perfectly with Stevens being off the roster. There wasn't anybody that was really supplementing the height and kind of the style of play that Stevens presents. As you mentioned, we've seen Angel Reese be able to expand her game a lot, even with the Chicago Sky. She's been able to stretch the floor a lot more. She wants to come off the dribble a little bit more. And I think being able to go back into Unrivaled and work on some of those things that she already wanted to do heading into WNBA season is going to be great for her and could help the Rose out a lot. Just a little bit of a reminder of what Angel had done in the previous season in Unrivaled. She led Unrivaled in rebounding. She averaged 12 per game. She also recorded 8 double-doubles, including the league's first 2020 game, which had 22 points and 21 rebounds, and she was named the Defensive Player of the Year. She did miss the semifinals, though, because of her hand injury, but the Rose went on to win the championship. So not a bad player to have back on your team than the Bayou Barbie, Shy Barbie, Miami Barbie, wherever she is, that's what she is. But a little update in regards to the one-on-one tournament that is set to play today. There are some players that have dropped out of the tournament, not necessarily for any specific reason that has been announced, but there is no longer Skylar Diggins, no Jordan Canada. On the other side, there is no Ka Copper, as well as no Rakia Jackson. So what it looks like is that Kelsey Plum, Natisha Heidemann, Alicia Gray, and Saniya Rivers will automatically advance, considering they don't have anybody else to go up against since those players have dropped.
Yeah, those players get automatic advancements with, like you said, the players that have been ruled out. You also have Isaiah James filling in for Tip Hayes. So she actually is someone that got called up from the developmental pool that gets to compete in the one-on-one, as well as well as Leticia Amihir in for Alyssa Thomas. So LA will compete against Aaliyah Boston in the first round, where Zaza will go up against Jackie Young. I think it's great, though, that these developmental players have the chance to go ahead and compete in this one-on-one tournament. We've seen a couple of them scatteringly get pulled up to the main Unrivaled teams. We were just mentioning Haley Jones getting called up for the Breeze. So this is just another chance to not only practice and be on site, but compete in something.
A player that I'm curious to see that could maybe come out of the developmental pool or not is Haley Van Lith. I think we haven't seen much of her since the kind of beginning when they were doing all the media and everything. I don't know if there has been as much need for heavy guard play, I guess, in terms of some players that have been ruled out, but I guess she could have been used in certain circumstances. But I know that you were really looking forward to that Alyssa Thomas matchup. So I know this one has to hurt for you a little bit going up against Aaliyah Boston.
It was, because I was like, wow, of all the first round matchups I was really intrigued going into, that is the one I definitely had circled, and it has just been ripped away from me. But I spent a lot of time with Leticia Amihir when she was here at the Golden State Valkyries. I think that she'll be a great addition to the Unrivaled culture. I think her matchup against Aaliyah Boston is going to be a really good one, because LA has a lot of length and athleticism. There was one moment during a game in the second half of the season where she was on a fast break and she laid it up, but her hand grazed the rim. I thought she was about to boom it. And she can, so watch out for that.
Yeah, there's just a lot of athleticism, obviously, across the board. I think we are likely to see a dunk at some point in these 1v1s, especially if Damlanga has, I feel like, a clear path in any way. She has to go up and just punch on somebody, honestly. Like, that will really seal the deal for Unrivaled this season. We've already seen her dunk so far this season. We're 2 for 2 for dunks in Unrivaled. Let's just make it 3 for 3, but make 2 in one season. But in terms of how the structure goes, we had already covered that a little bit, but the first round will be played today, and then it goes into the second round and quarterfinals, which will be played Friday. Saturday will be the semifinals, and then the championship game. Sophia, I think I said Paige Beckers is going all the way. This is her bag, going 1v1. I feel like she could do this all day, but I don't think we got who you see going all the way to the championship game.
You know what? We didn't. I think I am going to have to go with, I'll go with Alisha Gray. I think that within that quadrant of the quote unquote big guards, I see her being really dominant. She's already the number 1 seed. She has an extremely deep bag. In the WNBA season, she was one of the front runners for most improved player before it went to Veronica Burton. But I think that she'll definitely be good in this format. And whoever is on the opposite side, I think if you match her up with a smaller guard, she can just use her size to her advantage. Mm-hmm. And if you match her up to a bigger forward, she can use her speed and athleticism, but still defend, because she continues to correct people that she is taller than what the actual scouting report is.
I think her and Paige, that's why I would love to see both of them in the championship round, I think, because her and Paige have both had to correct people that they are not. I believe they're both put at like 5'11" often, and they both have said that they're 6 feet tall. Maybe they're 6 feet with basketball shoes and some insoles. We don't know. I'm not going to argue with them about it, but would love to see the big guards in the final game. Truthfully, that would be a fun one. Coming up after this, though, we have some Big Ten games to preview, so stay with us. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. It can be really difficult to have to select from certain resumes. Some people aren't necessarily always truthful on their resume, so you want to make sure you are selecting the right person that can help you and your goals. So, because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria, like skills, certifications, and location. That's what I like about Indeed. You can get specific and target exactly what you need. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena. The crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part hasn't always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast, without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. As a basketball connoisseur like myself, I love being able to just pop into games whenever, especially the Bulls are so close to me. Being able to go to the United Center, I want to just be able to pick up tickets easy, know where I'm going to sit, and just get rid of all the hassle. Being able to see the view from the seat before buying made the decision super easy for me. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. All right, let's preview some Big Ten games that are coming up today. The first one is UCLA, who is currently sitting at number 2, going up against number 13, Michigan State. Now, they're coming off a close win to Michigan, where they won 69-66. But this is a UCLA team that we have seen go undefeated, obviously, within conference play. They are a team that any player can get hot at any given night. They score so efficiently and they share that scoring. And that's why they have 4 players that are averaging double digits. Lauren Betts, 16 points per game. Kiki Rice, 15 points per game. You have Hawkes, 14, Neepkins, 13, and Dukulich is right there. She's at 9.5, almost pushing 10, just outside that margin. But you just never really know who to prepare for UCLA, because you can go double Lauren Betts and she's just going to kick it out, or you can have really tight perimeter defense. Lauren Betts is just going to do the cleanup work. You just never really have the best scouting report for them.
You don't, and you put it perfectly, because it's really picking your poison. If you choose Lauren Betts, I think the guard play for the Bruins has really improved this year, where you throw Kiki Rice into the equation. I think she's been playing outstanding. Even Gianna Neepkins, the transfer, her perimeter shooting is something you can't relax on. Or Charlie Sledger-Walker, who has really stepped into that point guard role and done really well, especially taking some of that pressure off of Kiki Rice so she can score more. But if you choose the, like you said, guards, go on the perimeter more, and you leave Lauren Betts to single coverage, that's something that she is eating up every single time.
On the Michigan State side, you obviously have some well-rounded threats too. I think in certain ways they can play similarly to UCLA in terms of they also like to share the wealth. But one of those leaders is going to be Grace Van Sluten, who has averaged 15 points per game and 7 rebounds per game, just outside of that double range. Rashonda Jones has always stepped up too in some of these big time games, one of their secondary scorers. Who or what can we look out for on the Michigan State side?
I think you look towards Grace Van Slooten because not only is she their team's leading scorer, but she's doing it really efficiently. She's scoring 50 or she's shooting 50.8% from the field. She's also 6'3", so she'll be a little bit of a bigger presence in the interior to mitigate what Lauren Betts is going to do down there. So I think it'll be a really important game for her to show out. But for the Spartans in general, I think this is a game that they need to realize the opportunity that they have because UCLA, they're coming off of that close win at Michigan on Sunday, and now they're playing at Michigan State. So this is a team that's been on the road for a little bit. You could catch them when they're feeling a little bit tired and run down.
Great point. We'll see what that game brings for us today. Another one is going to be Washington, who is set to play Iowa today. Iowa been on a tough run when you're maybe thinking of a team that you can kind of try and get while they're down or maybe a little bit tired. Iowa's on a 3-game losing streak right now. They lost at USC, then they lost at UCLA, and then they just came off of a loss to Minnesota. Now they're going up against number 25 Washington. What do you think has kind of slowed Iowa down as of late?
I think it has to be the injury to Taylor McCabe. She suffered that in the Ohio State game, which the Hawkeyes ended up winning. However, they have not won a game since that injury and since she went down. But she's someone that was really important to that group. She can shoot, space the floor. Was one of the players that led in minutes as well. She was third in minutes per game and fourth in points per game. So very important piece to that team that I think they're just really missing right now. And that's why you're seeing them on the slide. And it was an unfortunate timing for Iowa because they had just cracked the top 10. And then I think they're going to continue dropping because they lost to an unranked Minnesota last game. But they are at home against Washington. I think this is something that they really need to capitalize on this opportunity because now you're starting to look at their season being in a little bit of jeopardy if this slide continues.
Hopefully that we can see some of that, front court presence come to show, especially with Hannah Stolke, Ava Hayden. Chit Chat Wright has been performing well. But as you mentioned, when you lose some of that depth, especially somebody that is holding as many minutes, it's difficult for any team to lose a significant factor like that. But on the Washington side, they're coming off of a overtime win to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, a team that has definitely gave some of these ranked opponents a run for their money. But able to come away with a win in overtime, 91-86. But what can we see from the Huskies that can maybe outlast Iowa today?
I think it has to start with their defense. They like to keep games lower scoring for the most part, but same thing, they played on Sunday in Wisconsin. Now they're playing at Iowa. I could imagine they're staying in the Midwest during this time, so got to make sure that they don't see any fatigue for them to see that success. But same thing where they'll beat a really tough opponent, but then you'll see them really compete or lose against an unranked team, which I feel like in the Big Ten, sometimes the rankings don't matter because everyone is so competitive, but that is still something that you don't want on your resume. But getting a win against Iowa, who is still the number 15 team in the AP poll, will be a great boost for the Huskies.
Well, we will see if Iowa can snap this 3-game losing skid, but we also see if Washington can be the more dominant team, especially with their defense, who can maybe grab Iowa while they're already a little bit lacking on the bench department. But coming up after this, we are going to go over the Wooden Award Top 20 list.
The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us here on Locked On Women's Basketball, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the Winter Games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. After checking the FanDuel Sportsbook for what they had going on for the Winter Games, they actually have Norway as the favorite to win the most gold medals. So maybe a little bit of a surprise to people that are used to American dominance in any sport. But if you're willing to take that bet, FanDuel has it for you. So the Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them than with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. It's 2026, and if you're still paying rent without Bill, it's time for a change. Bill is the loyalty program for renters that rewards you for your biggest monthly expense, rent. With Bill, rent payments earns you points that can be used towards flights, hotels, Lyft rides, Amazon.com purchases, and so much more. And starting this month in February, Bill can actually be used to earn points on mortgage payments for the very first time. Soon, you'll be able to get rewarded wherever you live, and unlock exclusive benefits with more than 45,000 restaurants, fitness studios, pharmacies, and other neighborhood partners. Personally, I've heard good things about Barry's workout studio, and so I think I might start throwing that into my routine a little bit, but you can redeem your Built points there, which is so amazing. So join the Built loyalty program for winters at joinbuilt.com/lockedonwomen's. That's joinbilt.com/lockedonwomen. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you.
Okay, the Wooden Award top 20 list has been revealed, and you're probably not going to be surprised by some of the players on this list. They have been elite all season long. But when we're looking at some of the breakdown in terms of teams, LSU is leading the way. They have 3 players on the list. Flau'jae Johnson is on there, Michaela Williams. They technically have Malaysia Fulwiley put on here, but obviously she is no longer with LSU. She has transferred since then, so she's South Carolina. Then it's Tanaya Latson and Joyce Edwards. Oklahoma, Reagan Beers and Aaliyah Chavez. Texas, Madison Booker and Rory Harmon. And then they are joined by the 2 UConn players in AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong. Of this list, Sophia, who has kind of stood out to you most as of late to kind of continue on in a potential player of the year situation?
This is a very tough one. And it's lovely to have the luxury of great options in front of you. I think if voters are going the route, if you look at the best player on the best team, I think Sarah Strong is the favorite, and she's who you look towards. I still think she's one of the best players in the country. So she is definitely someone that you can throw in there. But if you look at who is most valuable to their team's success and who has helped them put them into the position that they are, Shea Ralph, her speech got me a little bit the other day. And I look at Vanderbilt's Michaela Blakes and what she's been doing for her team. I mean, she's putting up 30 pieces like it's nothing. Really turned around the whole entire program. I think that's someone that you have to really put into major consideration.
I agree with you. And I think that's why we led with that the other day too, where when you're just looking at her on-court and off-court leadership, what this Vanderbilt team would look like without her on it. I mean, she just had 3 games where she's scoring a minimum of 30 points. And then I just talked about the influence that I believe she has on the freshman Aubrey Galvin. I think that she has to be one of the top players that you consider. But then you also look at a Sarah Strong, who is the best player on the best team. It's a difficult one when you're comparing her to, AZ Fudd, who is on the same team, who has just been so efficient. And we've seen a lot of growth in her this season as well. Obviously, we know what a prolific scorer she is, but defensively, I think this has increased her draft stock even more. She has put a lot of pressure on some of the best players in the country. But Sarah Strong, I think, separates herself in a way she really is the overall player when it comes to scoring, rebounding, facilitating. I mean, when you're a big on the team that is leading the team essentially in assists, it's kind of hard to not consider her as basically this is her program. The program revolves around her. I think Sarah Strong is obviously another really strong contender.
Yeah, she continues to impress me whenever I see her play. I think even in that last ranked matchup that UConn played Tennessee, we saw her handling the ball against the Tennessee full court pressure a lot. And that was something that, she hasn't really been exposed to yet, which I think was a really great test for her and that she did well. And she's someone that's only going to continue to get better. But just looking at some of the other players on this list, I would have put a little bit more consideration into Audie Crooks and Hannah Hidalgo if their teams were doing a little bit better, but both Notre Dame and Iowa State have slipped and fallen out of the AP top 25. So those are difficult to give too much conversation into because there's no doubt that they're 1 and 3 in the nation's leading scorers. So they can they're actual buckets, but I think you do have to put the entire team factor into it.
I think that's a big part of it too, when we're thinking of just the voting in general. Yes, individual players, but realistically, your team also has to succeed with you in order to get this sort of win, essentially, I guess. But I feel like another player that could be highlighted is Rory Harmon, because when you look at Texas, obviously the main person you will likely look to is Madison Booker. But to me, Rory Harmon is kind of the foundation of Texas when you're thinking of just the type of veteran she is on this team. The fact that she is now leading the school in assists and steals. I think she does all the little things to have Texas be as successful as they are. She's not necessarily putting up as many numbers offensively in terms of scoring. She will, but she's obviously looking to facilitate for the rest of her team. We've seen her continuing to get better on the defensive end as well. She is just one of those players that does, to me, all the little things right and has really propelled Texas to be where they are right now.
Yes, and I think one thing that I like about the Wooden Award is it awards the player of the year, but they take in multiple aspects other than just scoring, which I think Rory Harmon is a perfect exemplary of that, where maybe her scoring prowess doesn't showcase itself every single game. But if you take her out of the equation for Texas, they are not even close to the same team that they are now. And again, when we're looking at strength of team, Texas very high up. They're right in there for consideration for who's going to win the national championship. For a while during the season, they actually looked untouchable. So I think that Rory Harmon definitely could deserve some conversation into this award.
Yeah, we will absolutely see. Excited that we still have at least a month left of basketball. I feel like it has flown by so quickly, but we will see what those awards look like towards the end of the season. But that'll do it for us today on Locked On Women's Basketball. Thank you all so much for tuning in with us. We will be back again tomorrow to keep you updated on all things women's basketball.